Mrs. Rajavi's 10-point plan for the future of Iran will extend political, social, and economic equality to women. It will allow all citizens to prosper and thrive in a free market economy. And the 10-point plan will ensure the freedom of expression, the freedom of assembly, and guarantee the right of every Iranian to live, to work, to worship according to the dictates of their conscience in freedom.
Madam Rajavi, the 10-point plan you have put forward is the solution. It is the answer. That day will come when it will shatter the theocracy. It will break them to the very core. And the very leaders who are inflicting so much pain on the Iranian people today will be held accountable for all that they have done.
The global community must be far, far more in support of the future envisioned by Mrs. Rajavi and the NCRI set forth in the 10-point plan that has been discussed already. The manifesto articulates the irrepressible hopes and aspirations of the Iranian people and all of those who have laid down their lives in protest of that tyranny.
What you do is so important to the future of the world. I back Mrs. Rajavi and all her fantastic work in support of freedom and democracy. We need to remember that it is particularly brave to stand up for freedom and democracy in Iran, given the brutality of the regime and the repercussions that people face.
And the only way we will discover for sure who is on the side of the Iranian people is by allowing the opportunity for free and fair expression of the public will. And that's what causes me to turn, if I may, to Maryam Rajavi's 10-point plan, the philosophy and intended policy programme of the National Council of Resistance of Iran.
I know leaders of Europe will say, but there is no plan. There is a plan. Maryam Rajavi's plan, the 10-point plan. Gender equality, peace with the world, non-nuclear, religious freedom, freedom of speech. There is a plan. We have the plan. It is the 10-point plan.
Maryam's leadership of the NCRI has not only inspired a new generation of Iranian girls, and so many of us women across the world, but also she has provided this 10-point plan for the future, where all Iranians will have equal opportunities to assume political, social, and economic leadership. I reiterate the call on world leaders to recognize and endorse the Iranian People's Democratic Movement, led by Maryam Rajavi.
As our colleagues, we signed this joint statement, a joint statement that also has been signed by our presidents of the parties, also by my president of the party, Bart de Wever, who is heading for Prime Minister right now at the moment. And with this statement, we want to express our support to Mrs. Rajavi's 10-point plan.
We need to stand as a united front. That's what is here today. That's what's so impressive and so representative of your leadership, not only your 10-point plan, but all of the representatives you have here today showing that we love you and we have your support and we have your back. And we're going to continue, and we're going to continue to be there.
We also, in the committee, call for the recognition of the Iranian people's, for the recognition of the Iranian democratic opposition and Madam Rajavi's 10-point plan, as well as for the prosecution for crimes against humanity of those who were responsible for the 1988 massacre. The future of Iran must be determined by the people of Iran, who very clearly want a democratic republic. And that will only be achieved through an organised democratic resistance movement exemplified by Madam Rajavi and the NCRI.
All the diplomatic effort and the financial resources that the Western governments waste to try to no success to appease a bunch of malignant enemies should be used to help the struggle of the Iranian people against tyranny and to support the 10-point plan of Maryam Rajavi to give birth to a new Iran.
In France, just in France, the majority of the Congress signed a petition supporting the 10 points of Maryam Rajavi. The same happened in the States. More than 230 bipartisan members of the US Congress. More than 500 cross-party members in the UK Parliament. Numerous Nobel laureates. More than 4,000 parliamentarians all over the world. More than 125 former world leaders have committed to support the Iranian resistance.
We're very privileged to be here today with you, Miriam, for what you're doing in respect of Iran and the people of Iran. Our problem is not with the people, it's with the theocracy.
Honorable Madam Rajavi, you have our sympathy and support, as always. And sometimes it might seem that your efforts are not bringing the change that you seek for your people, but remember that you are the only hope for millions of boys and girls who want to live a free and decent life.
I want to be with all of you today with a few words which once again would like to express my unwavering support to a 10-point plan for the future of Iran. The Iranian people deserve democratic institutions led by great political and moral figures. Madame Rajavi, in particular, figures that have nothing either to do with this theocratic and dictatorial regime, nor with any other past experience of dictatorship, repression, torture, and murder.
What is the hope of Iranian people? If we read the 10-point plan, it's something very simple. The basic human rights, the basic political rights. And why do people need the political rights? It is so obvious. They want to make their country what they so love. Not only the country they love, but the country they can trust, because there will be rule of law.
You need a government, and you will have a government, that will support that 10-point plan and make it a reality. And I want to tell you that when you do that, you will have the support not only of those gathered on this stage, but all of the institutions that they represent, of the United States government and of the American people, as you bring about a new day, not only for Iran, but for the entire world. And I envy you both the responsibility and the privilege of doing that.
We come here because we support Madam Rajavi. And the reason we support the NCRI and Madam Rajavi is that she represents a different worldview, a worldview that believes that individual freedom and democracy is something that will, in fact, bring a more peaceful world. It will not just give rights to the people of Iran, but it will make Iran no longer a threat to the world. So, Madam Rajavi, thank you so much for all that you do.
There is, as we've heard today, widespread support for Madam Rajavi's 10-point plan for a democratic republic in Iran that respects human rights, promotes gender equality, and separates religion from state affairs, aligning with global democratic values.
We see the hope for the free Iran in the 10-point plan of Mrs. Maryam Rajavi, a plan for a secular democratic republic and a free society.
And for me, all the things that I have heard and I have listened from Mrs. Rajavi has been such an amazing inspiration, not only to continue the fight, but also to continue motivating our people and to continue standing together.
Maryam Rajavi, thank you for your continued leadership. And to those gathered in person and those joining from around the world, thank you for your continued dedication to and belief in democracy and freedom.